Chelsea are often described as inevitable, the most dominant side in women's football. They are relentless and a machine that just keeps going and keeps winning. But dominance and stability, they aren't the same thing. And success, especially sustained success, can hide structural fragility instead of eliminate it. Now, this video in no way is saying Chelsea are bad. We know they're not bad. They are a fantastic team with excellent players, and they keep winning. This is instead about asking the harder questions. What is the cost of winning, and how much strain can this version of Chelsea actually absorb? Because when you look past trophies and the aura of this club, Chelsea's dominance is ultimately built on systems and pressures that are far more delicate than the narrative suggests. Now, dominance does not equal control. Let's start with that. Chelsea dominates the results. That much is for sure, but not always the game. This is very important to understand. But they win, and we know they win. They are competitively ruthless, physically resilient, and have a mental superiority that other clubs absolutely fear. But that doesn't always translate to tactical control. In many matches, Chelsea aren't suffocating their opponents with possession or structure. They are simply outlasting them. Now, that's not a flaw. It's actually a strategy, and a good one. But it's also a strategy that relies on high-intensity output repeatedly, not to mention emotional resilience and physicality across the whole squad. Now, when those margins narrow, whether through injuries, fatigue, or congestion, dominance is much harder to sustain. Chelsea's success is not automatic. It is earned repeatedly, and that ultimately requires constant resource expenditure. Now, this is important. Depth is not the same as balance. Chelsea are often praised for their squad depth, and on paper, that's true. Their squad is full of international level players, but ultimately depth and balance are not interchangeable. Depth gives you options. Balance gives you coherence. Chelsea frequently rotate personnel, but not always the roles. That means certain tactical and physical demands fall on the same profiles again and again. Over time, this ultimately creates load concentration on key players. There's reduced margin for error when injuries occur, and tactical flexibility that looks greater than it actually is. The squad can absorb absences, but only up to a certain point. And when absences cluster, the structure underneath is tested very quickly. Dominance built on depth still relies on availability. Now, what is the hidden cost of constant success? Winning all the time creates a very unique type of pressure. And I think as fans of football, we all wish that for our club, to be winning so frequently that in itself becomes a pressure. At Chelsea, success is no longer the goal, but actually the expectation, and that changes everything. Every match becomes a potential failure rather than an opportunity. The environment rewards resilience, but ultimately it also accelerates burnout. Players are expected to recover quickly but also perform immediately. They're also expected to absorb criticism when performance dips, but then also balance being the standard. It's a recipe for disaster, really, isn't it? The system works though, but only as long as physical output remains high, and as long as injuries remain manageable and motivation stays intact. But as we know, these are not infinite resources. Now let's look at how Europe exposes structural limits. Domestically, Chelsea can manage risk. In Europe, they can't. The Champions League removes familiar rhythms, predictable opponents, and margin for tactical recovery. Against elite European sides, Chelsea's strengths are still very real, but so are the stresses on their model. Small inefficiencies become decisive, such as transition defense, fatigue accumulation, and tactical predictability under pressure. This doesn't mean Chelsea are failing, it means their dominance is context dependent, and context is far less forgiving at the highest level. Now let's explore why the inevitable narrative is very dangerous. Calling Chelsea inevitable does two things. It flattens analysis and hides vulnerability. Inevitability suggests permanence, but football's dominance is always temporary, even when it's prolonged. Chelsea's success relies on constant competitive intensity, excellent injury management, emotional buy-in from rotating squad, and a tactical adaptation under pressure. Remove or strain any one of these and margins tighten very, very fast. The dominance doesn't collapse suddenly, it erodes quietly and slowly. Now, all that being said, Chelsea is still the benchmark. This isn't a video stating that Chelsea are in the midst of a downfall, because they're not. We can see that they're not. They are still the team every other club measures themselves against. But being the standard means You carry the weight that the other clubs don't. Their dominance is not fragile because it's weak. It's fragile because it's expensive to maintain. And the question isn't whether Chelsea are going to stop winning overnight. The question is how much longer this model can absorb pressure without structural change. Because in women's football, as in all elite sport, sustained success is not just about winning. It's about what it costs and what ends up paying it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on whether you think sustained dominance can actually be a negative. I will see you in the next video.